with some of you that are in productivity coaching with me right now, I'm hearing kind of a constant theme, and that is scripts, getting more comfortable with them, etc. So I thought we would spend a good part of today's call in talking about call center leads and how to deal with those. And I realize that not all of you at this moment might be getting call center leads, but these scripts are adaptable to really any source from which the leads come, but these are specific as to calls that have come through the call center. Now, one of the wonderful benefits from my perspective that the Kristan Cole Network offers for you all is the fact that we do have this wonderful call center and real life human beings who make calls every day and essentially, if you will, weed through some of these things so that when you get the leads, they have been scrubbed and there's information, a conversation has taken place. So who's on the call today that actually is getting call center leads and is willing to share, 30 seconds to 60 seconds of how that's going for you? Don't be shy. Nobody wants to share?
Say that again. I accidentally hit my speaker button. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. Not a problem. I said anyone who's currently getting call center leads who might want to just talk about how that's going for them.
I can share a little bit.
Okay.
And first one, some of the first ones that we were getting, that I was getting actually, were not. I felt that they weren't very good because they just were looking for value and stuff like that. But lately, the ones that we've been getting are very good. I just closed on one, and then I got two listing appointments this Friday from call center leads that I just got. One's for $418 and one's for $180,000, or $418,000 and one's for $170,000 or $180,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. So they're going. I think they're getting better. I don't know if they changed anything or if it's just the people that are actually thinking about selling are actually taking calls.
Well, and I think there's a chance that all of those things are true. Realistically speaking, just like you all, the folks, Jeremy and the folks in the call center, spend some time working on scripts, etc., so that they are becoming more polished on their conversations. Pardon me. So consequently, their rate of getting through and getting some solid leads is going up, and we're appreciative of that. And I do believe that in a lot of the areas of the country, people are looking around going, wow, maybe now's a better time to sell or do whatever it is I have to do right now. And so I think it's a combination of those things that you mentioned.
Hey, Rick, real quick, too. How much of that do you think the better quality of the lead is just in terms of your attitude and confidence that you're having now versus before?
I was just getting ready to add that in there. My confidence level has gone way up. So I think I know that there was two listing appointments that I had that I got them to sign. We haven't gone live yet, but got them to sign because of script and role play that we do here in the morning in our market center from 9 to 9:30. When I first started sitting down with them guys doing that, Tyson kind of made a joke and said, Rick, you couldn't even close a door when you first started, and now it's like second nature. I mean, he'll throw me a objection, and I know how to handle it and go from there. So I think it has a lot to do with it too.
Well, thanks for that, and thanks for hopping in, Scott, because that's where we were going next, but I appreciate that. Everyone in the system, myself included, Kristan, you will find that we all work on what we're doing on a continuous basis so that we do get better at it. And thank you for sharing that about the fact that you participate in script practice essentially every day. And I know you and I've talked about that. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And really, from my perspective, and you kind of mentioned both of these things, the practice on the script to the point that it becomes just part of your dialogue or part of your conversation is so valuable. But to have that objection handling, where someone will throw something at you, toss something at you, and you have an opportunity to now deal with that objection. That's interesting that somebody would tell you that you couldn't close the door. And I've heard that phrase used with others before. And it's simply a question of, like anything else in life, if I get more exposure to it and I spend more time looking at it and I spend more time talking about it and I spend more time involved in it, I just get better. And every time I see a problem, hear a problem, find several ways in which to talk about it, objection handling, etc., the next time that one comes at me or something similar to it, I'm far more prepared to deal with it. So thank you both gentlemen for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. Anybody else want to talk about something as it relates to your script practice or some of the things that you're accomplishing as it along those lines? All right. Well, Tegan, if you'll be kind enough to kind of move on through again, we've got the picture of our referral partners in terms of Movement Mortgage, True North Title Agency, and Home Warranty of America, and we appreciate all that they do for us. Our big why and clearly our mission, vision, values, belief systems, and perspectives. I just can't tell you how important that is to keep that in front of you, keep focused on what is important to the team from a culture perspective, what is important to you, and as well your market centers, absolutely to be a part of that. But that's a big part of what we're doing. So let's talk a little bit about our script center, call center scripts. And this one is just kind of the basic, if you will. Hello, this is Faye with Keller Williams Real Estate. How are you doing today? Great, glad to hear that. We're making some courtesy calls to inform homeowners about recent changes in the real estate market in your area. Can we provide you with a complimentary market analysis so that you're aware of any shift in your home value? Now, before we go any further, when you get to that second line up there, we're making some courtesy calls to inform homeowners about recent changes in the real estate market in your area. If someone says anything to you at that point, if you stop, take a breath, and somebody says something, are you prepared every day that you make these calls to, at that moment, tell them about some of the changes in your real estate market? And if you are or you aren't, what kind of information do you think you should have available to you as it relates to answering a question immediately following that comment that you would make? Now, somebody wants to tackle that. I know you do. How about you, Scott? What would you say?
Some quiet people today.
I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, really what you have to know is what what it actually specifically means for them as a seller, and experiences that we've been having with either with multiple offer situations, or what people are doing, how people are competing, how you're drawing out an auction-like effect. And not only is it just the highest price that is the best offer, but there's different strategies that agents can have to maybe what we've seen is an agent will write a really high offer, hoping that it won't appraise, just because then they can get it accepted, but then get it lowered. And then the biggest thing too is, you talk about the reason why is just the lack of inventory, so knowing what that specific number is. But if they have a place to sell, or if they have a place to sell and they have to buy, what is that going to look like? Because that's why no one's selling, is because they know that it's going to be really hard to find a place. And if they do find a place, no one's going to compete when they have a home sale contingency. And so if you're looking at being the local expert, you talk about what those specific situations will look like and how you can help them solve problems.
And just to yes and yes to all those things, and clearly we want to do that, but I'm really talking about, and maybe we can just bite this down a little bit. We're making some courtesy calls to inform homeowners about the recent changes in the real estate market in your area. So if we're stopping right there, what are one or two things, just one or two bullet points, if you're calling in the affordability area of your community, wherever that is, what are one or two bullet points that if they stop you at that point that you would want to just share with them right then?
I could share which homes have sold, so you can give a recap of the number of homes or the days on market. And then you could either talk about the increase of average price or the decrease in number of listings, the inventory low or the price is high, just something that could appeal their interest. Sure.
It's interesting if you start to talk about days on market, there's some danger there because, and here's the perspective, and I'm going to piggyback on what you said. If I'm calling you and you've got some hesitation because, as you said earlier, you're really concerned because you know that the market is tight as it relates to inventory, and you're concerned about getting another home, getting another property. And the first thing that I tell you is that the days on market is really short. Have I now added more anxiety to that person? And I wonder if we shouldn't take it from the perspective of values as a whole. And of course, we're going to have to talk about a subdivision, a community, however it lays out in your area, that the values over the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever recent changes you want to talk about, have increased, because right now there are very few neighborhoods throughout the country that are decreasing, but they've increased by 2% or 5% or 12%, or it's gone up 12% over the last 12 months, or whatever that number is. But don't you think that would be valuable for us to have that number, because that's one of the recent changes? And then secondarily, I would think we'd want to then take that part of the dialogue that you were sharing and talk about the inventory. And days on market, to a large degree, doesn't mean a lot to the general public because they don't quite get it the way we get it. But it be valuable to say that the number of transactions that closed went up by whatever it is in your area, 20%, and the number of new listings that came on only came up by 6%, or something that really is going to reflect, in a way, exactly what you said, but it appears as though we have some very specific information to share with them, which would lead right into, can we provide you with a complimentary market analysis so that you're aware of any shift in your home value? We've gotten them interested because we obviously knew our market and they like that. We're trying to build some rapport, build some trust, and now we're saying, and we'd like to give this to you, and would you like to know what your home is worth in today's market? And there are very few people, at least in my experience, that are going to say no to that. If we've started the conversation from the perspective that I am offering some information on the real estate market in general, I can provide them with a free CMA so that they know about any shift in their value, and wouldn't they really like to know about the value in today's market? It seems like I have a much higher success rate in going further, and that is, have you been thinking about selling in the next 6 months or so, or are you just curious about the value of your home? And we ought to now be careful, as many of you, of course, have studied in Bold and other classes, we ought to be careful about our tonality here. We want to make sure that it doesn't appear as though we're simply saying, are you just being nosy, or do you just want something for free? So if we've been thinking about selling in the next 6 months or so, or you're just curious about the value, and you treat them with the same inflection, the sense is that you're equally enthusiastic about either of those. And by the way, you should be equally enthusiastic about either of those, because many times the work that we do today, the conversations we have with them today will be the differentiation when they do make a decision to do something else. So again, and I'm sure many of you are certainly doing that. And if they say, no, we're not thinking about selling, et cetera, have you considered refinancing or a reverse mortgage? And why would we be talking to them about, have they considered refinancing or a reverse mortgage? Well, clearly, if they're thinking about refinancing and pulling some equity out, they might be thinking about doing some improvement to their property, or they might be in a position where if they pull some equity out of this property, they might perhaps be in a situation where you could be able to sell them an investment property. There's a whole variety of reasons. Again, these people all need help, and you're the professionals that are going to help them with that. No, okay, sounds like you're all set. And sometimes people will go, nope, I'm not selling, not even curious about the value of my home. Okay, fine. Sometimes no just means no. And sometimes no means no until you get my interest in something. Yes, okay, okay, that sounds great. What's the best email for you? So if they've said yes to us, and they want some information about the property, we want to get their email address. If they tell us that, well, I'm not really interested in the value of this property because I'm a tenant here, I'm leasing the property. Well, does that just open up a completely different door for you, but it's a huge door for you to walk through? Great. When does your lease expire? Would you like to see what type of home loan you could get involved with? Now, I personally would be a little bit cautious. I would go from when does your lease expire to doing a modified needs analysis. These people may have a bucket full of money, and if I go directly into would you like to see what type of home loan is available, I always fear that I'm going to truly offend someone. I might take it from the perspective of, are you interested in information on any sort of loan programs? Money is relatively inexpensive today. And if somebody says, oh, well, I heard that interest rates went up, they have, but that still money is quite inexpensive today. Just gives you an opportunity to talk about that. Now, if somebody says that their lease doesn't expire for 4 months, and they go, I'm not really interested in looking right now, should we start talking to them about the conditions in the real estate market, and that actually 4 months doesn't give them a lot of time to find the property that they're looking for, be able to get everything in line, get an accepted offer, get it in escrow, etc. Because again, these people are tenants. They may not be aware of the pressure on the market. So be prepared to talk about that and kind of know what that number is in your area so that you can give them a sense of urgency, because now if you plant the seeds of urgency, you wish to become their professional. If the answer is yes, okay, I'll have an in-house lender contact you and provide you with some information. So we've gotten their contact information. We've gotten their permission to provide that information to our in-house lender to give them some information. And then we're going to ask what's a good time for them to call you. So again, we can provide that information on to the lender so that they are calling. They're now going to say when they call at, after 4 p.m. in the afternoon, because that's the best time for these people. And they're going to remind them that they're calling because they had a conversation with Faye, and Faye had indicated that they had some interest and they have a lease and it's expiring. And you get the idea. We want to just pass on as much information as possible. Anybody want to share anything about that? If not, Tegan, if you'll go on and let's look at our next script, which I think ought to be a call center lead who is a seller. How many of you want to take listings? I like listings. Somebody wiser than me once said you need to list to last. I kind of like that. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. This is Faye with Keller Williams Real Estate. How are you doing today? Great. Now, by the way, please listen to what people say to you, because you don't want to say great if they just say, oh, I just came home, my dog died. Great's not going to be what you want to say there. But hopefully they'll always say something, upbeat. How are you doing? I'm great. How about you? Great. I see that you spoke with Charlie here at our office, and you are interested in getting a detailed valuation of your home. Is that correct? They're going to say yes. Great. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I need to verify a couple of things about the property. Do you have a quick minute? Okay. Is your address 123 South Mulberry Street? Great. Now, once again, I don't know that I would say great that many times. I might change it up. Good, great, excellent. Thank you so much, because we kind of overused the word there. Are there any upgrades since you purchased the home, solar room addition, new roof, etc., that I should be aware of that will affect the value of your home? Okay, thanks. Now, let's stop there for just a second. If someone says to you, why, yes, I have a number of things I've done to this property, and I've done this, that, and the other thing. Why do you want to know? Is it fair to say that in the real world, there are 3 things that will universally affect value? Location. Can't do anything about that. The property is where it is. It's on Mulberry Street, on Mulberry Street. Condition and pricing. Those are the 3 things that are going to be key. So when people are curious as to why we want to know about upgrades or anything that they've done, I think it's really important to be able to share with them that the condition, whether or not it's been upgraded, etc., will have an effect on value from the standpoint that buyers are going to see value in those things. So it's good to get them enthusiastic about the things that they've done to their home. Mrs. Smith, I asked, how soon do you need to be moved? I understand. Now, depending on what they tell you, of course, your sense of urgency and theirs is going to have to be adjusted. In the transactions that you've handled, I don't know who'd like to play with me at this point, but have you had people say to you, I've taken a new job and I really need to be there the first of the month? And they haven't even, you're the first agent they're talking to about listing their home, and it's the 2nd of May, and they need to be in the next town the 1st of June. Like, holy cow. Or they say, well, we don't really have to be moved at any time, but we'd really like to not spend another winter here. So maybe they're up in someplace in upstate New York or Wisconsin or whatever. They don't want to spend another winter there. Or they're down in Florida and going, don't know if I want to spend another summer here. I'd like to get it sold and move a little further north. If they're in Arizona, that's certainly what they're going to say. I don't want to spend another summer here. I want to be someplace cooler. So you've got to be prepared to kind of adjust for that. So the way that we do our CMAs, or comparative market analysis of your home, is that we consider how soon you need to move. We'll take a look at the current listings in your area for homes that are similar to yours, the recent sales and tax records, and that information, along with more than 30 years of experience, will give us an accurate current valuation of your home. This is the value that we use along with the current rate of absorption of inventory to determine the proper recommended listing price. Oftentimes we may need to come to you, to your home. There have been a lot where there's been a lot of remodeling and or upgrades have been completed. So I really like to go look at the properties, and I think it makes it easier for you to build on the foundation that you're laying right now if you can actually get there to them. Usually takes me a day or so to review the information, complete the market analysis, and I'll be ready to meet with you to review the information to make sure that we get everything right. When's the best day and time for me to meet you and go over the market analysis? And I have to tell you there, I'm not sure I would say that. I think that I would say is, Thursday at 3 or next Tuesday at 10:30 better for you. And then from there, they're going to say, oh, it's going to have to be, some afternoon after 4:30 because of my job or whatever. But I try to do the tie downs where we're serious about setting a date where you like this one or that one. But again, maybe that's just me. Maybe you'll get more comfortable with letting them take the lead and tell us what day and time is better to meet and go over it. Now, what else would be important here if you're going to meet and go over this? I'm talking to one person right now, but in over 50% of households that are owned, there's at least two people that are the owners, and quite often it is either a husband and wife or domestic partners or whatever. Would you think there's a lot of value to trying to ascertain that you're going to be able to sit down with both of the decision makers as opposed to just one?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So much more valuable to you. And so then we go on and say, great, we'll see you then, thanks a lot. These are very easy scripts from my perspective. It becomes just a very nice conversation. Don't want to give away too much in the beginning. The whole goal in this is to be able to, let them get comfortable that you and I know what we're doing, and B, be able to provide them that CMA so that they're really thinking about the fact that we know our business, we know the market, and we are the best person for them to hire to get their home sold, if that is their goal, to get it sold. And you and I know that there are people out there that want to talk about possible values for a variety of reasons, but if we're really talking about getting something sold, I think we should put that into our dialogue as well. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if you're ready to get your home sold, then we're going to be the difference maker for you. One thought I want to leave you with, if you do not have the situation that Rick has, wherein your market centers, they are doing some regular script practice on a regular basis, and you don't have a script partner, if you would either send me a little text or note or whatever, let's try to make sure that we get you all teamed up so that you can consistently have script practice. I don't want to put words in Rick's mouth, but I think what I heard him say is that he's getting better results for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that he's gotten more comfortable with his scripts. Is that a fair representation of what you said, Rick, if you're still out there? Whoop, he went away on us. Well, I'm going to tell you that's what he says. So since I coach him, I know what he says about it. All right. It was wonderful to have you on the call today. Again, it was recorded. It'll be available for you.